All right, so in today's video, we've got 3 new pickups that I recently got from Fragrancebuy.ca. All 3 of these fragrances, in my opinion, they are more kind of, geared towards the, current season that we're in right now. So definitely more so kind of like winter and fall. And these fragrances are Fragrance World's Nudo Exotic Flowers. The second one is Maison Alhambra's Ebene, I believe is how you pronounce that. And the third one is Fragrance World's Legion. All right, so all 3 of these fragrances, they are inspired fragrances. Legion is going to be inspired by Parfums de Marly's. I don't know how you pronounce it. I don't know if it's Wajan or Oajan. But it is inspired by that fragrance. As you can see, the presentation is definitely very close to that. Ebene, this is going to be Maison Alhambra's take on YSL's Baby Cat. And the Nudo Exotic Flowers, this is going to be Fragrance World's take on Initio's Narcotic Delight. All right, so just to get started with the presentation on all 3 of these, as you can see, like I said, with Legion, this is definitely going to, have the same sort of look as like the Parfums de Marly's, fragrances. This is the same kind of presentation that you get with something like Heart Nail from Fragrance World, as well as Midori. So it seems like they have like a whole line of, Parfums de Marly fragrances that really kind of mimic that sort of presentation. It seems like these aren't necessarily like that available. Seems like, once they do become available, people kind of scoop them up and they stay unavailable for like sometimes, at least a half a year to a year or so. So I know with Heart Nail, that one seems to have been, it seems to be pretty available for the most part. I know with Midori, that one was not available for at least over a year. That one seems to still be available on the Oud store. So again, this is going to be the front of the box here. You've got Legion. This is an Eau de Parfum in a 100 ml bottle. You've got nothing on the side here except for this kind of gold line that goes around the whole entire box. Fragrance World logo up top. You've got that down there at the bottom, Fragrance World. And then on the back, you've got the authenticity sticker as well as the ingredients and the barcode. Opening the bottle up, this is what you get. So it's basically, it's the same bottle that you're getting with Heart Nail, except for this just has a different color scheme with it being like black and gold, whereas Heart Nail, that's going to be more like, I believe, green and gold, I believe. So yeah, man, it's the same bottle, Legion, Eau de Parfum, and then you got Fragrance World on the back. You got the Fragrance World logo on the top of the cap, and you got a Fragrance World sticker at the bottom. So that's the presentation for Legion. For Ebene, it is going to be, just like the presentation for the Tux. So the bottle is basically going to be exactly the same. As far as the box goes, I don't necessarily believe that I remember these like little lines being on the box for the Tux. If it is, I just don't remember, but it's the same sort of presentation, just a different name. So Ebene, Maison Alhambra, you've got the Maison Alhambra logo up top. Ingredients on the back, nothing really on the sides except for those lines. And you've got the authenticity sticker here on the side. And you've got like a batch code and like the barcode and stuff like that on the bottom. And then the bottle sits in here. Like I said, it's the exact same bottle that you get with the Tux. The only difference is just, obviously the juice color. All right, so same thing there. And as far as the presentation for Nudo Exotic Flowers, I really, really hate this presentation. I really do. I would really love to know who greenlit, this sort of presentation. Now, I do know that there are like 3 different fragrances in this collection. It's this one. It's the green one, which is supposed to be like a clone of Marc Jacobs' Decadence. And then I don't remember exactly what the third one is. It's kind of like a dark reddish, almost kind of purplish color. I don't know what that one is, inspired by, but like I said, there are 3 fragrances in this collection. So this one is Nudo Exotic Flowers. Like I said, this is the interpretation of Initio's Narcotic Delight. You got the name of the fragrance here on the front, Fragrance World logo up top. And then you've got like all these like different flower designs and stuff like that all around the box. Authenticity sticker on the side, ingredients on the back, and then the batch code and barcode and stuff like that on the bottom. And then this opens up like this. And unfortunately, this is the presentation, for the bottle. So a very feminine, presentation for sure. And I mean, the only reason why I didn't pick this one up, sooner than what I did was it was literally because of the presentation. I saw this months ago and I saw what it was, inspired by. And I was actually really interested to see what the Narcotic Delight scent profile smelled like, but I just didn't want to buy this bottle. But I kind of got over it, went ahead and purchased it. And I mean, it is what it is, man. I wish they would have went with the presentation that they've done for like, Glorious Oud and like Glorious Oud Royal Blanc, Happiness Oud. I wish they would have went with that, but unfortunately they didn't. They went with this presentation. So just to get started, man. So this is just going to be a first impressions of these fragrances. A few of these I actually need to get, the original samples of to really do like a side-by-side comparison. I don't currently have the original of the Nudo, or I don't have a original of the Narcotic Delight. And I also don't currently have the original sample of, Oajan or Wajan, however you pronounce it. So I have smelled, Wajan before in the past. And, this definitely does remind me of that fragrance for sure. But, to really be able to say exactly how close this comes, I will have to wait for that sample to come. Now, this does smell very good, man. It basically, when you spray this on, you kind of get like a blast of like this really sort of almost boozy, but yet at the same time kind of spicy sort of apple pie type of smell. So let me just go over the notes for Oajan. So for the notes for that fragrance, you're going to get in the top notes cinnamon, honey, and osmanthus. In the mid, you get benzoin, ambergris, labdanum, and artemisia. And then in the base, you get vanilla, tonka bean, patchouli, and musk. Now, even though there's no like sort of boozy note listed, this, at least to my nose anyway, it does kind of come off as slightly sort of boozy. And I mean, I think the way that this opens, that's why this does kind of get compared to, the Angel Share scent profile a lot. I know even some people, they consider this scent profile to be, the superior or better, scent over Angel Share. I would have to say I disagree. I do think that Angel Share is a better scent profile than what, the Oajan scent profile is. But this is still very good, though. This is very good. I just think that this is probably more of sort of like a niche version, I guess you could say, of the scent profile. So, probably if you're like a niche fragrance lover, you are going to kind of more so gravitate towards this. But I think if you are just somebody who just likes to smell good, I think that the Angel Share scent profile is definitely a little bit more mass appealing. Maybe you could even say a little bit more versatile than what this is. This comes off as very sort of spicy, uh, definitely very masculine, in my opinion. So I think that Angel Share, that one is definitely a little bit more kind of on the unisex side. And to me, just kind of straight down the middle unisex. It doesn't really lean feminine or anything like that to me anyway. Whereas with this one, I think that this is a little bit more kind of masculine leaning because it has the extra sort of spiciness to it. To me, this also kind of has a slightly more almost kind of earthy sort of feel to it. It's not super earthy, but it has that sort of feel to the scent profile. And yeah, man, like I said, this does seem to come across as very close to, what I remembered Oajan, actually smelling like. So, like I said, I'll have a sample coming in and I'll do a side-by-side comparison between this and the original. But so far, I am pretty happy with the way that this smells. This does also, give, very decent performance so far. The projection on it is pretty nice, at least for, I would say, about the first hour and 45 minutes to 2 hours or so. You are going to get some pretty, heavy projection out of this one. And for like the overall longevity that I've gotten so far anyway, it's kind of been like around that sort of 7 to 7.5 hour mark. So I know with a lot of Fragrance World fragrances, when you initially get them, a lot of times, the performance is not as good as what it's, going to eventually be. And sometimes even the smell is slightly different. I feel like the smell is probably about spot on. But in terms of the performance, I do think that this probably will end up, kind of getting stronger and, more longer lasting as it sort of sits and maturates. So, so far, man, like I said, I am pretty happy with the way that Legion smells. I have been pretty happy overall with really all of the, sort of Fragrance World Parfums de Marly, interpretations that they've done. Now, I know like they have the Midori and then they have Aether Extrait, and the Aether, that one from French Avenue, definitely seemed to be the better inspiration. But at least so far, this Legion, and then also, like I said, Hartnell, which is the Haultain inspired fragrance. These two seem to be very, very good, man. So I would definitely recommend Legion if you are looking for, Parfums de Marly's Oajan, on like a budget. And like I said, I'll have a side-by-side comparison to really let you all know exactly how close this comes. But so far, just on its own, this does smell pretty good. All right. So the next one is the Nudo Exotic Flowers. So just even the name, and I don't know why they necessarily went with this name. It's just overall, it even like when you look this up on the Fragrantica site, they have this listed as, it being for women, but this is not, to me anyway, it's not a feminine scent. It's definitely, it's a unisex type of scent. So the notes for Nudo Exotic, or for Narcotic Delight, I'm sorry, are in the top notes, you get cherry, pink pepper, and black pepper. In the mid, you get cognac, Hedione, and rose. And then in the base, you get tobacco, vanilla, tonka, cedar, and patchouli. Now, the notes are going to be slightly different for Nudo exotic flowers. So for this one, in the top notes, you're going to get red fruits, black pepper, and pink pepper. In the mid, you get cognac and hedione. And then in the base, you get vanilla and tobacco. So, I mean, it's not like completely different. The main difference is, in the Narcotic Delight, you're getting a listed cherry note, and this one you're getting red fruits. But to me, the way that this comes off, it does still smell to me like cherry for the most part. Now, I guess you could say maybe kind of like a mixture of cherry and like, a really sort of aromatic, maybe like raspberry or something like that. So I guess that would be the difference there possibly. Now, like I said, I haven't smelled the Narcotic Delight, so I don't know, how much different this smells, in the initial opening compared to that. But what I can say is this does seem to be like very well blended, very high quality. I'm not getting like any sort of, like alcohol blast or anything like this. Like as soon as you spray this on, you can definitely go right in and really, really get a really high quality smell, man. No alcohol at all from this one. So I have been enjoying this one. This definitely, it comes off as like slightly kind of fruity, you could say, from like the red fruits and the cherry sort of smell that you get in the initial opening. It does kind of have like also like a slightly sort of boozy feel to it. And I mean, it does smell maybe slightly floral, but I feel like the way that everything is kind of blended together in this, you're not getting like florals over everything else, or you're not getting too much booze over everything else. Like everything just kind of comes together really nicely with this. And like I said, at least to my nose anyway, this doesn't smell like a feminine scent to me. So I don't know why it's being marketed as one, by just the overall sort of presentation and even the way that it's listed as for women. This is definitely going to be a scent that women and men would definitely, appreciate and can wear for sure. So I'm not really sure what the deal is with that. But yeah, man, I saw people kind of comparing the Narcotic Delight scent profile to like Initio Side Effect. To me, this is it's totally different. Side Effect to me comes off as a lot more sort of spicy. It definitely comes off as stronger for sure, like stronger and heavier and denser. This comes off as very sort of a lot more aromatic to me. And it definitely doesn't come off as dense as what, Side Effect does. Now, that's just me judging the scent profile based off of this, the Nudo Exotic Flowers. I don't know how much different in strength the Narcotic Delight would be. But, if this is like spot on to Narcotic Delight, then Narcotic Delight is definitely, it's a lighter scent for sure than what Side Effect is. So yeah, man, I really like this one a lot. Like I said, it's fruity, it's slightly floral, slightly boozy, has definitely kind of like a vanillic sort of undertone, but the vanilla is definitely not that noticeable. It's just there kind of like for support, but it doesn't like make the fragrance like super sweet. And that's what I do like about this. This is not like a super sweet or feminine or powdery, sort of fragrance. This to me, like I said, is just very kind of aromatic, boozy, floral. Definitely, for this time of year, And it does last a decent amount of time. It just doesn't really, so far anyway, the projection on it hasn't been that great. So for me, the projection has been probably about a half an arm's length or so. So hopefully that gets better as this kind of maturates or whatnot. But so far, yeah, I would say the performance has been average in terms of the projection, but in terms of, the overall longevity, this has been, decent straight out of the box. So I think longevity wise, I'm getting like at least about 8 hours or so out of this, but it just isn't really that noticeable because of the lack of the projection. So we'll see how this one does over time and how close this comes to the original. And then the last one that we have here is Maison Alhambra's Ebene. So this, again, is going to be their take on YSL's Baby Cat. And the few times that I wore this fragrance and wore the Baby Cat side by side with this, I was really, really impressed with how close this one came to YSL's Baby Cat. To me, this does seem to be closer to the original than what the Tux is to YSL's Tuxedo. Now, I mean, this is still a very close interpretation to YSL's Tuxedo. I just prefer Fragrance World's version, which is Suits, over this one, mainly because of how the dry down smells in that fragrance. This one does definitely do the opening better than what the Fragrance World does. But again, I think that the Fragrance World definitely does better in the dry down than what this one does. As far as Ebene, especially like if I'm going to compare this to something like, Paris Corner's Refake, this does smell to me closer to the original than what Refake does. So like when you first spray this on, especially if you're comparing it side by side to Refake, you're going to notice that this is going to have a lot more sort of, black pepper and incense than what Refake does. And if you're not familiar with like the YSL Baby Cat sort of scent, note breakdown, in the top notes, you have black pepper, pink pepper, and elemi. In the mid, you have olibanum and saffron. And then in the base, you have bourbon, vanilla, suede, and cedar. So, like I said, with this one, the incense seems to be, definitely more prominent than Refake, just as prominent as what it is in the original Baby Cat. I would say there is a slight difference in terms of the black pepper, though. This seems to have a little bit more black pepper than what YSL's Baby Cat does, at least to my nose anyway. And it doesn't necessarily bother me, but I think, if you're somebody who's like, maybe sensitive to black pepper and fragrances, you may not, care for that with this one. Maybe something like Refake would be something that you would more kind of enjoy. But this does seem to be for sure closer to the original, than what Refake is. Now, I do have to wear this one side by side with Alexandria's Tomcat to see exactly which one of these is closer to Baby Cat, this or the Alexandria. But I mean, I feel like in terms of like quality, and the way that this one is blended, this is definitely right up there from what I remember the Alexandria being. This is right up there with that, and this is way cheaper. I believe I probably picked this one up for like around $35 or so, $35 for this 100 ml bottle. The Alexandria is going to run you over 100, for 100 ml. So this is very, very good, man. When I wore it side by side with Baby Cat, it did seem like Baby Cat seemed to have a little bit more projection than what this did so far. And then also the longevity was a little bit better on Baby Cat as well. So Baby Cat, that one easily lasted, at least about 10 plus hours or so. With this one was more kind of like around that 8 to 9 hour mark so far. So, I mean, out of the box, that's still going to be very good. but just not as good as the original YSL, or even like the it's not as good as the original YSL Baby Cat. And I mean, I would say it's probably around about the same as what it is with Refake, also less than Alexandria. So overall, man, I do like this one a lot. I feel like, you know, especially in the opening and also in the dry down, this does seem to, you know, be the most accurate sort of take on the fragrance from like a Middle Eastern house that I've smelled so far. Now, I haven't smelled Fragrance World's Fierte, I believe is what it's called. I haven't smelled that one yet, but so far I am very, very impressed and happy with the way that this one smells. In the dry down, I feel like Refake definitely is more sweeter and heavier on the vanilla, you know, than what Baby Cat is. Whereas this one seemed to be very well balanced between, you know, that sort of suede note, the vanilla, the olibanum. All of that seemed to be, you know, very accurate to what the original YSL Baby Cat was. So, again, this is pretty good, man. Really, really good. Definitely seems like, you know, they've kind of upped their game from, you know, what they had with the Tux. And again, the Tux is still, you know, very good. I just feel like the way that the patchouli note is done in the dry down of this one, it's lacking compared to the Fragrance World version. Whereas this one, I felt like all the way through, I was for the most part getting the same experience that I was getting with Baby Cat, just with maybe, I don't know, 5% less projection and a little bit less longevity. But overall, man, for the price, this is really, really good. So definitely, I would say this one, out of all three of the fragrances so far anyway, I would say this one was my favorite, the Ebene. Now, I'll have to see how close these actually come to the original, and maybe that may change. But so far, definitely Ebene was my favorite out of all three of these, all right? So let me know in the comments below, man, what you all think about these fragrances, Ebene, as well as Legion, and also Nudo Exotic Flowers. Let me know in the comments if you all have these fragrances. Also, if you do, have you smelled the original, and how close do you think these actually come to the original fragrances? All right. So also, I'll have links in the description to where you can purchase all of these fragrances. If you do decide that you want to pick up one of these fragrances, it definitely helps me out a lot if you all actually purchase from those links. You know, a lot of times, you know, those links are affiliate links, and those do help, you know, kind of keep the channel running. So definitely appreciate that. And also, if you're brand new to the channel, do me a favor, go ahead and subscribe. And again, that's Jamar from Vegas Scents. I'll see y'all in the next video.